Well, welcome. It's really a great pleasure to be here today and to have a chance to talk to you about the Department of Civil Construction and Environmental Engineering and our Town Hall webinar, and to discuss our town engineering expansion and renovation initiative. My name is David Sanders. I am the Department Chair for the Department of Civil Construction and Environmental Engineering. For those of you that I've not met, I hope that we can meet someday. I'm an '84 grad of the program in civil engineering and came back to Iowa State in 2018 to be department chair. So it's really great to be back here on campus at Iowa State University. As we get started today, I wanted to go over just a few ground rules that we have, or things that we want to talk about. This session will be recorded. There is an option for closed captioning that you can turn on in the bottom left corner of your screen. As you can see, once the captions pop up, you can move them around so that you can see the entire presentation. I'm going to go through a few slides, and then we'll have an opportunity for some Q&A at the end. There is a chat window that's open, and so if you get questions along the way, please go ahead and pop those into the chat, but I'll answer those at the end. Well, that slide might have taken you by surprise. That's a promotional video that we have started to use quite frequently for our department. I really like it because it shows the dynamicness that we have within both our undergraduate and graduate programs. And it also demonstrates the interactiveness that we have within our program. I've always been proud of Iowa State University and the fact that we're a land grant institution. So we value both teaching and research, and in addition, are out in the community doing outreach and service. The health of our department is strong. We have almost 850 undergraduate students divided between our three programs of civil engineering, construction engineering, and environmental engineering. If you remember, our environmental engineering program just started a little over 2 years ago and already has more than 100 students in it. Our graduate program remains strong with about 150 students in it, dominated by our PhD program. This is in part because of the high demand for our undergraduates. More than 90% of our undergrads have either an internship or a co-op experience, and we lead the college in terms of placement of our graduates, both at graduation and 6 months from graduation. Because of the strong growth of our program and because of the different ways that we're teaching, we feel that it's time for a strong investment in our physical infrastructure. And so that brings us to our primary focus of today, which is the Town Engineering Expansion and Renovation Project. First, just a little bit of history. You remember that the building was built in 1971. So it just celebrated its 50th anniversary. When it was initially built, it was a combined building for civil engineering and aerospace engineering. In 1999, aerospace engineering moved out into its own building. And since 1999, we have essentially expanded to now occupy the entire town engineering structure. If you were to take a tour of today of town engineering, you wouldn't see many major structural changes within the building. But what we have done as we've gone through and done a lot of innovation within the building in terms of graphics and painting. What we've done today is we've completed a 25% schematic design of the project, which gives us accurate estimates of the overall cost in the project, as well as detailed drawings of the addition and renovation of the existing town engineering. When you look at the building, you can see that the addition is on the south side of the structure of town engineering. This was done on purpose because this is the main gateway that our students entered the building. And so we wanted to create essentially a grand entrance for our students to be able to gather and to collaborate. This is existing town engineering. For those of you that are alumni of our program, I'm sure that you remember the structure with its limited windows on the first floor and the narrow slotted windows throughout the rest of the building. This is a rendering of what we anticipate the building will look like here in a few years. Again, you see the grand entrance on the south side of the building. The design building is to the left. The armory is to your right. And you can just see the large increase, excuse me, in the amount of glass that's in the structure. If you go back into existing town engineering, this is our lobby area. I mentioned to you that we have approximately 1,000 students. So this is really the primary gathering place that we have for 1,000 students within our program, plus our current staff and faculty. It really is not sufficient for the needs that we have, especially with the collaborative nature that we're trying to promote within our program. As I mentioned earlier, we have tried to go around the building with different graphics and different art in order to bring the existing town engineering alive. The picture in the upper right-hand corner is the back hallway. Again, the graphics, the paint, we improved the lighting. The upper left picture is the entrance on the south side, the current entrance on the south side that we hope to change as part of the expansion. You see the use of banners in some of our classrooms, as well as graphics in some of our classrooms. And while this has brightened up the building, it really doesn't create the full effect and the needs that we have. This is the lobby in our new building. You can see the light that's coming into the building, the area for people to gather. This is looking south. The College of Design is through the glass that you see in front of you. You also begin to see the classrooms that exist on both the first and second floor on the right-hand side, and there are also classrooms that you can't see on the left-hand side. This is the second floor lobby area. You can see a computer area where students can gather, open computing that's available. The bricks that you see on the left-hand side are actually the existing building. So it's integrated on the first and second floor to bring this new innovative space, not only as part of the renovation, but the expansion, but also renovates into the existing structure. I mentioned to you that we have a new environmental engineering program. This is the existing environmental lab that we have for our program. We've seen large growth in the program, but even without the growth, if you look at this room, you can see that it's quite dated. You can see the chalkboard that we're using as part of the classroom experience. There's really no place for an instructor to stand or a teaching assistant to stand, and everything is kind of blocked off in terms of line of sight. If we now go into the expansion, you see our new environmental instructional wet lab. Again, you have the light that's coming in from the south side. You have a much more open area for sight lines. You have an instructor station at the front. Off to the left, behind the cabinetry, there's an entire area for prepping and preparing for the laboratory experience for our students. This classroom right here is our current geodetic surveying instructional lab. If you look at the floor, I like to joke that the improvement that we've made is the removal of the asbestos tiles. But if you look around the room, this is not a very innovative, exciting space. And yet this is where our freshmen come and spend a tremendous amount of their time during their first year. Again, what we'd like to create is a collaborative team-based classroom. The cabinetry that you see in the back is for the surveying equipment, but this will be used for other classes, not only at the freshman level, but at the sophomore, junior, and senior level, with a lot of light that's being able to come into the room as part of the learning experience. These two pictures here are room 322 in our existing town engineering. This is the primary room for our mechanical and electrical classrooms as part of our construction engineering program. Because of that, we've removed the ceiling tiles in the top of in the ceiling in order to be able to demonstrate different types of lighting, show different types of mechanical systems. We have pumps in the corner of the room, as well as different other types of demonstration models. You can see the students working in teams as part of this picture. So we're working in teams in our current facilities, but the facilities were not designed for team-based learning. If I now take you to that same room in our expansion, you see again the team-based learning type sitting situation. You see whiteboards on the left-hand side for groups to be able to come to the door, come to the wall and work on different things. On the right-hand side, you see a fully operational mechanical system that can be used as part of the classroom experience. Students are able to go to that system and see how things actually work. In the front part of the classroom, you see electrical systems that are to scale and are actual true equipment that would be used in a building. The only difference is that they're not live. It's a little bit difficult to see in this picture, but there'll be different types of lighting throughout the room so that we can show students what the effects are of different lighting. And when you're not using this classroom for either electrical or mechanical types of systems, there'll be a screen that comes down and whiteboards that will be in front of these other systems. So again, that the room can be multi-purpose. This view is actually looking right outside my office on the 3rd floor of Town Engineering. This is our existing advising center. The second door down is actually the advising center. I often see parents and students sitting out here, and I ask them if they feel like they're waiting to go into the principal's office. And they all seem to agree that that's the feeling that we're giving. What we want to do is create a very inclusive environment on the 1st floor. This would actually be in a renovated space, and give the department a presence on the 1st floor. So currently, when you come into Town Engineering, there's no department staff on the 1st floor. So people wander around trying to find their way around. Here, there'd be a person there that could answer their questions. In addition, for prospective students or existing students, this would be one of the first things that they would see when they come into the building. There are advising offices in the back. There's a room that's dedicated to prospective students and their parents when they come to visit. So just a very much more inviting environment than what we currently have. If you look at Town Engineering, this is a drawing of existing Town Engineering. You just see the number of rooms that we have, but I want to point out the size of those rooms. Town Engineering, when it was built, was cut up into lots of primarily small rooms. The large rooms in the upper left and upper right of the picture are the large scale structures laboratories. And so the rest of them are really classrooms and offices. If we now look at that and look in the expansion and renovation, you see that the rooms are much, much larger. And this also gives you a look at what we not only have the renderings at the 25% schematic design, but we have detailed drawings of each of these spaces. So in the upper left-hand corner, you see that environmental wet lab that I showed you earlier, along with the lab support spaces that I mentioned. In the lower left-hand corner, you see the geodetics instructional lab, again, all based on team-based learning. You see the advising center right there in the middle with new bathroom facilities for the expansion in the existing building and the conference rooms. Note that there's not only a conference room in the advising center, but there's also conference rooms above that in the picture, and there's a large collaboration area. If we go to the 2nd floor, you can see the same collaboration spaces that we saw in the rendering, the computer area that students can work in, another conference room, additional bathrooms, and in the upper left-hand corner is that mechanical electrical classroom that I told you about earlier. And in the bottom left-hand corner is an additional team-based learning classroom. So you can see from this, these renderings that I've shown you, as along with these plan drawings, that is very student-centric in terms of the entire design and operation of the expansion and renovation. I also like this picture because it shows that the light can actually begin to enter into the rest of the 2nd floor of the existing Town Engineering. So this is just a close-up of the advising center. again, with the advising suites for advisors, storage, bathrooms, a sitting area, which we don't currently have for our advising area, and a receptionist. You can also notice that even if this advising reception area is full, it's right adjacent to the other collaborative open areas that we have. And so people will be able to find a place to rest or to gather prior to a prospective student visit or for our existing students. This again is a close-up of the environmental wet lab. I like this picture because it begins to show the detail of the 25% schematic design. On the left-hand side, you can see that there are whiteboards. That's the green lines in terms of where there are going to be whiteboards around the screen, around the room, as well as power and data, compressed air, and all the other details that are necessary for the construction of the building. So this is an elevation of the project. The top one is looking from the south. So this would be from the rest of the engineering buildings or the College of Design. You see the large amount of glass that we have facing south. The one on the bottom, the rendering on the bottom, is looking from the east, from the armory. You can see the expansion on the left-hand side of the drawing. So we're really excited about this project. I really very much like the rendering and the plan for the building. It honors the past of the building with the kind of verticality of the brick and the kind of narrowness of the windows. But in that narrowness, there's also just a tremendous amount more of light that's coming into the building. So today what we wanted to do was to tell you about the project, but we also want to invite you to help us in terms of engaging with us in this project. It is $33 million. That's the total construction cost and design cost of the building. When I was in school, the cost of education, 2/3 of it was paid for by the state and 1/3 was paid for by tuition. These days, it's more flipped, which means that the cost of tuition pays 2/3 of the cost of education, and the state only pays 1/3. That would be for an in-state student. And when it comes to building expansion and renovation, there just isn't a lot of state dollars around for this type of project, especially for a single project, or a single department project. And so therefore, what we're really saying is, can you come join us? Can you help us in terms of making this project into a reality? It truly is a generational opportunity for our department, and we'd be glad to answer any questions that you have about the project. Are the current student organization spaces adequate, and will they get new spaces if needed, such as ASCE, Steel Bridge, and Concrete Canoe? When we first started to do the project, the idea was to have potentially some specific places for student organizations. It wasn't possible for us to include that in the project because of the limited budget that we have. They do maintain the spaces that they have in the existing town engineering, and that will continue even after this renovation and expansion occurs. You bring up a good point in terms of the importance of these organizations within our department. They really provide a stickiness that connects students to the department and also to each other, whether they be students that are freshmen, sophomores, or juniors and seniors, but it also connects freshmen with seniors. So we continue to really promote and support our student organizations. There is one last comment I would make is that the Concrete Canoe now has a space off campus that we've renovated for their use, and the Steel Bridge team utilizes our North Structures Lab for their work. Additional capacity does the extension provide? So the growth potential for the department is we don't see the department growing tremendously over the next 5 to 10 years. I see it being a steady growth. We were looking at the impact that buildings have on other departments within the College of Engineering. For example, when the Ag Biosystems Engineering Department got their new building, there was about a 10% increase in the size of their department. That same thing happened with aerospace when they built their building. And so we do expect there to be a jump in the size of the department that will occur because of the expansion. Part of that is because when prospective students come to visit the campus, they want to visualize themselves in terms of where they will be. And I think that they will find this new space much more attractive and more likely to choose Iowa State. In addition to that, about 20% of all the students that come into the College of Engineering are undeclared. And I think that this will also be attractive to them in terms of a space to operate. And so I do think that this will have a positive impact on the department in terms of size, and we could see an increase of maybe 15% as a result of that. In terms of how does this expansion facilitate that, the classrooms do provide a slight increase in terms of the size of classrooms that we have, but really the focus is more on the type of space in terms of the type of instruction that we have. So it provides us with more opportunities for team-based learning. Got a question from Robert about, could you go over the current and projected enrollment numbers? Well, earlier I had mentioned that the overall department is about 850 undergrads, about 150 graduate students. Those 850 undergrads are divided between about 500 students in civil, 250 in construction engineering, and a little bit over 100 in environmental engineering. Our hope is that the department would grow in the 10 to 15% range over the next 5 to 6 years. In terms of the graduate program, I think we could see a larger increase in that. Over the next 5 years, I would hope that our graduate numbers would be closer to 200. How much money do you already have committed? We're, in terms of the project, we're just under $5 million that have been allocated or raised for the project. And so it'd be a good time for me to talk about the time schedule. This is really the start of a primary push for the project. We were waiting to get these 25% renderings for the project before we really started pushing hard in our fundraising activities. Our fundraising activities will be happening over the next year. And so I'm hoping that by fall of 2024, that we've raised a majority of the money that we need for the project, the $33 million. We don't need to have all $33 million in hand. It's a commitment that we're looking for. My wife and I have committed to the project, and we're spreading our commitment over 5 years. And so that full amount of our commitment will be part of the $33 million that we're looking for. And so my hope is that in the spring of 2025, we would go back to the university and to the Board of Regents. They've already seen this project, they've already approved this project, but we need to get their final approval with the 25% schematic design along with the commitments that we have towards the project. So the question, the next one was also about how much have you raised so far, and then what do you initially need to raise to begin construction? This question is a little bit unclear. As I mentioned, the budget for the project, or not the question is unclear, the answer is unclear. The amount that we need for the project is $33 million. I think that this is purely speculative on my part, but that if we're in the $25 million range, that we would get the go-ahead for the project. So if I'm at 5 million now and I need 25 million, then that means we need to raise $20 million over the next year. We've been talking with individuals, we've been talking with corporations, and we've gotten a tremendous amount of enthusiasm about the project. And the number of times that I have heard this project has to happen, I couldn't count on my hands. And so we're very positive about the ability for us to raise the money that we need for the project. That question was about the timeline. So the part I didn't say was that if we complete go to the Board of Regents in the spring of 2025, the hope is that the building would take a year, 2 years or so to build. So that would mean that we would start construction in the spring of 25 and then be done in 27. The next question by John was, will the renovation project include updates to other classrooms or lab spaces? The answer to that question is yes and no. The advising center is within a current part of the building, so that's a renovation. The collaboration spaces or the individual rooms for collaboration that you saw are also in existing spaces. In terms of the rest of the building, what we have been doing since I came here is developing a master plan for the building. We actually have renderings for different spaces within the laboratory, such as where we teach the classes for materials, also for geotechnical. And so we have ideas, even the back dock area, that are spaces within the building that we'd like to renovate as money becomes available, but that's not part of the 33 million. And so the 33 million is strictly the expansion and renovation of the things that I've shown you today. But we do have plans to renovate many of the other labs that we have within the existing town engineering. The next question is, what do donation packets look like and what are the benefits for a corporate sponsor? And at this time, what I'd like to do is invite our people from the foundation, Ryan and Jolene, to join the conversation to maybe talk about some of the different options that are available for giving to the project.
Too many options to select. There are definitely naming opportunities for individuals and companies throughout this building. And, on the corporate level for this question, would certainly invite you to work with Jolene and myself, or if you're at a company that is already working with one of our corporate relations colleagues at the foundation that works with a number of companies tied to the department, I'm happy to visit with you about opportunities and potential ways to do multi-year pledges or gather the right support within the company and kind of help lead those conversations to where we might be able to provide some visibility for the company within the new building. So there will be naming opportunities within each of the spaces, both in the existing expansion, but then also in the existing building. And we'll also have a donor wall within the main floor of the building, kind of recognizing donors at significant levels to provide some additional visibility.
Hi, Ryan. Thanks. Hi, everyone. I'm Jolene. Great to hear all of you and David and all of your questions. I too had issues pressing buttons, Ryan, so getting on. So as Ryan just commented with the multi-year pledges and the donor wall and naming opportunities, yes, we are with the Iowa State Foundation and be happy to talk with each of you and your companies. And we can also send out the brochure that David showed everyone. And I think probably what's best, if you want to put in the chat, if you would like that brochure, I think at this point we could have one direct contact and send that out to you. And also, as David said, and as you heard in his voice, his passion, that he and his wife, Tina, have committed. They're dedicated, and it's a heavy lift, as David commented, everything that is going on with the renovation. So we need everyone's help, and tell your, classmates and your companies and send them our way.
So in addition to, Jolene, her email is now on the screen. You're more than welcome to email me, sandersd at iastate.edu. I'm also more than willing to travel to places if there are a group of people that you feel would be valuable for me to get in front of, whether that be virtually or in person. I'm glad to commit my time and energy to do that. I think it's a great way to promote corporations, as has been pointed out several times. We also will have a donor wall in that front lobby area to acknowledge all of the people that have committed to the project, because we want to honor you for your commitment to the project. Well, I greatly appreciate your time today and your interest in the project and your willingness to take some time to learn more about it. Again, I think it's an exciting opportunity for our students, our existing students, for our future students, for our faculty and staff, and for the campus as a whole. As you know, town engineering is not only used by civil construction and environmental engineering students, but it's used by other engineering students with our second floor classrooms that continue to have students from all over campus come into town engineering. So while the focus certainly is on civil construction and environmental engineering students, the whole campus will be impacted by this project. And so with that, I will say, as somebody said in the chat, go Cyclones.